really loved reading about your holiday shopping. I couldn't think of that. The flea. I used to always go to that flea also. I don't know if it's still on or not. I'm hoping so because I loved going there. I thought it was super creative and I love getting unique type of items. Lately, though, I have been going up to the Maker Corner at the Van Aken Market. So I love all these great places and great new ideas, and I certainly will be hitting some of those for the upcoming shopping season. But before we as consumers can go shopping in these types of markets, the items actually have to be made and created. And many are created using the facilities in maker spaces. And of course, many schools have maker spaces, and some of them have better use of them than others. A makerspace is a collective workspace inside a school or a facility like a library or a school or other organizations that's used for making, learning, exploring, and sharing, that uses high-tech and not so high-tech tools. High-tech tools are usually geared more towards the older learner, and those include things like 3D printers and laser cutters and soldering irons and sewing machines and things like that. While the lower tech items, usually for the K-8, usually have things like Legos and cardboards and pennies and art supplies and things along those lines. For us, a makerspace is more of a mindset. It's a mindset of creating something out of nothing. It's to explore interests, and it's for creative problem solving and for collaboration and also communication. Makerspaces provide hands-on learning opportunities, they boost confidence, and they help with critical thinking. And of course, makerspaces can foster entrepreneurship and are being used all over as incubators and accelerators for business startups. Today, we're going to learn how to elevate our makerspaces by a couple of experts in the field. Matt Gerber is the leader of the YEI Innovation Center, which is a state-of-the-art makerspace at Western Reserve Academy here in Ohio. This facility has been around for about 7 years, and it is amazing. I've been in lots of different makerspaces, and this is one of the best, if not the best, that I have ever seen. In fact, at YEI, when we had our Inspire conference and we needed some merchandise, like this pin, we went to the students at the YEI Innovation Center to help us fulfill our need. And they created these pins and stickers and a whole host of items in their makerspace. And I'm hoping Matt will talk a little bit about that today. But I just wanted to give a plug for, using your local makerspace too. Matt is going to be talking about the creation of this center, as well as ways that he incorporates this center into the Western Reserve Academy overall curriculum, as well as the community. Then we're going to hear from Bill Scott. Bill is the Director of Operations for Invent to Make. He will demonstrate how Invent to Make works directly with schools and educators to provide curriculum, projects, tools, training, and support needed to seamlessly facilitate exciting makerspaces and entrepreneurship learning opportunities in the classroom. He'll also talk a bit about his offerings on YIPI. And finally, Jennifer Jones, who is the project director for Beyond School Bells, a Nebraska after-school organization, will be speaking to us about her Think, Make, Create, a mobile machine makerspace designed to allow kids to experience a wide variety of tinkering projects and makerspace activities. Her activities are geared toward the K-8 age range. So there's going to be a little bit of something for everyone in today's session, and I hope we'll also feel comfortable to chat and ask questions and make this interactive as you want. But before I turn this over to Matt, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Robin Eisen. I'm the Special Projects Manager here at YEI. My colleagues and I will be monitoring the chat box during the workshop today. So feel free to use that or use the reaction, raise the hands, etc. Whatever works for you. We'll be looking out for your questions and to get you incorporated into the workshop. Also know that we're going to send out an email after this event that includes all of the slides, as well as a list of all of the resources that are mentioned during our conversation today. So you don't have to take notes if you don't want to. It will be, all of that will land directly in your inbox. Okay, we're going to get started now, and I'm going to turn it over to Matt, unless there's anything I need to do beforehand. Any questions for me? All right, Matt, the floor is yours. Matt,
All
if
right.
you're
So yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
No. Sorry. Anyways, thank you so much for having me on. My name is Matt Gerber, and I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at Western Reserve Academy. And if you know anything about Western Reserve Academy, we're a historic campus, a boarding school, a 7-day boarding school. So we have the luxury of 70% of our kids being here 7 days a week, and the other 30% are boarders in the Hudson area. And so, one of the things is that we were steeped in tradition. And so the idea of cutting edge technology and tools was something that was new. And 8 years ago, I was asked to build our innovation center makerspace here at Western Reserve Academy. And we did. And we're happy to say that our facility here, the Wong Innovation Center, here's some pictures from when we first opened it up. It looks somewhat different now. But what we want is, for my goal is for our kids to be able to make anything. And we want to have all the tools that they can be creative and make anything. And when we were putting the center together, one of the things I noticed when I visited all these different places, colleges, for-profit makerspaces, and so forth, was there was a lot of focus on collaboration, which is great for innovation, but there was not as much focus on entrepreneurship. And the Morgan Foundation is just down the road from us here in Hudson. And Mr. Wong, who the center is named for, is a entrepreneur. He owns the largest kitchen appliance company in Asia, and his kids went here. And so he was also very interested in entrepreneurship. And so we do a whole bunch of programming, but part of that is really specifically targeted towards the community, entrepreneurship, and letting our students know about what you can do in a makerspace or innovation center geared towards entrepreneurship. And by all means, at any time anybody has any questions, please let me know. We're very open down here. We've had schools and colleges from all over the place visit us to kind of see what we're doing. And we've been very open and transparent about all of that. So one of the things that we did first that I think made a lot of sense for us was we have a curriculum. So we have courses that are taught specifically here. I teach a whole host of these courses you see on a screen. I have 2 others in our department that teach them as well. But they range in different skills, from more electronics to engineering to graphic design. So you see a whole range of skills and different subjects taught. But the one course that we developed is a course called Idea to Product. My background's a little different. I used to own a company for 5 years in the Indianapolis area. So I have some familiarity with what it takes to start a company, to have employees and so forth. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about how you can start in a makerspace and have with an idea and come up with a final product. And so that's one of the classes that we have. And really the demand, and I look at market forces a lot of time, but you can see we started and opened our doors in 2016, 17. We had 89 kids out of our total enrollment of 402 kids taking classes here. And this year, we're very proud that we've grown every year. We have 419 students out of the 439 that are on campus right here today that are taking classes in here. And I want to say, I don't know where the other kids are, but we have a whole host of kids here. And so it shows you a little bit about the demand for what's happening in our makerspace. And so, I get asked by our board of trustees and our administration, and we can point to these numbers and you can see just the student interest. And all of those classes I showed you, none of those are mandatory classes. And so those are all elective courses kids can choose from. And so one of the things that makes us a little unique is that we've really tried to pivot. And on the screen here are some of the businesses that we've worked with through our center. And those are businesses we've worked with for profit. And you can see some of the names that you might recognize on there. But we've manufactured or done small production runs for all of these companies in some way. And it's been very exciting to get students engaged in this process, because it becomes more real when they have to design and pitch and manufacture something for an outside organization than it is for maybe the teacher in the classroom. The stakes are higher, it's more authentic, they're getting feedback and having to make different changes to their prototypes and iterations. And so we're really proud of the fact that we continue to work with and partner with different businesses. Just today, we just shipped out 3 different products, and I'll show you one of them later on here, that we did today for businesses that just came and picked them up because they needed them before the weekend. So it's been really exciting to do this process, and you can see some of those names there, and I'll get into some of the stories behind it. You know, and so again, we talked about authentic task. I'll give you one, and I know that Kanye West probably isn't the best person to mention today for his recent troubles, but back a couple years ago, we were contacted by them, and we were contacted by him because he was going to do a shoe launch. And to be very honest with you, I had no idea who he was, but my kids were all over it. And I've never seen students so motivated to create stuff for him. And these shoes were going to be, I don't know, several $100s in a shoe launch. But the task was to make custom spoons for him with his fonts. And we had to sign non-disclosure agreements. And so the kids got to learn about what NDAs were. We then had a 24-hour turnaround to get these custom spoons with a certain number in the label. They had a shoe launch. And if you went to this place, this ice cream place, you got a number. And if you got the right number that was on your spoon, you got a right to buy these shoes. Anyways, it was new to me. I'm not that hip, I'll admit. But my kids, I've never seen them so motivated. And we sent the first prototype back to them. And his group sent us back and said, we didn't like something. And the kids were devastated. And I said, this is business. And you have to make these corrections. You have to make these changes. And so the kids did it. They changed it, sent the next prototype over. They approved it. And within 24 hours, we had 300 of these custom spoons being shipped out to his organization. And the students got paid in YEI gear. And so they thought that was fun to be able to go and buy, I don't know, $300 t-shirts, it seemed like, and socks. But again, we had an alum. Yeah, it's a good question. We had an alumni who was out in California and had visited our center and knew somebody on their team and said, hey, I think maybe my former school could do this, because we were showing them some of the stuff we could do. And they just out of the blue called me one day. And I said, I think we could do that. And I mentioned it to our students. And I said, they were all in, wholly invested. I think every time I've done this, whether it's Fast Signs, which was up in Twinsburg, Ohio, Simplay 3, which is in Hudson, Joann's, which is headquarters in Hudson, our kids get really motivated because they're authentic tasks, there's stuff they can do. And a lot of these, it starts, I really, and you might say, how do you start this? Like, how do you get hooked up with Simplay 3 or Fast Signs? The first thing I did was I contacted our economic development director of Hudson and had him tour the space. And he thought it was fantastic. And I told him what I wanted to do. And I'd really like to have our kids involved in some of these businesses that anybody. And, one or two businesses, bit on that. And then it became 3 or 4. And now, we've had to turn down some work because we're just too busy. I mean, I teach full time. I'm also in charge of IT for the school. And I run this space, which is, 8,000 square feet of all kinds of different machines. So, we had to turn down some work, but, that's how it started. And, I'd highly suggest if you're interested in working with community, that's a good contact to have. And then once you get that started, things really took off for us here and what we could do. And I'll show you some of these ideas, and you'll get some ideas of what we've done in the community. It might be very different than you think. The other thing we did was, we do a lot with the community. We think it's important to give back to our community and have our kids involved in the community. Here you can see some students pitching. We were tasked to come up with product lines for our visitors bureau and their museum gift shop. And so these kids are listening to the 2 leaders of our visitor center here in Hudson. They came back here and they all developed products with spec sheets and pricing. So they're talking about wholesale, retail, markup. They're talking about, how much their labor is worth, how much profit they're going to make on each item. They're looking at comparables to see where this would price based on other products in the marketplace. So you're talking about all of these great skills about entrepreneurship, and then they got to get up and pitch it. And these 2 people who run the center, they then chose, we pitched about 25 different ideas. They chose 8 or 10, and then we manufactured those, and then they sold them there in the center. So, really good, real practical applications and presentation skills and authentic kind of skills we want. On the left, our graphic design course, they designed the entire restaurant food tour, promotional materials, all their stuff, all the giveaways. If you visit all these restaurants, you got this glass. We made that glass here. But again, they came in every week, and they would then critique the students' work. They would give them feedback, and ultimately got to what it is that they wanted within the community. But again, these are getting our kids out there doing more, using our facilities to get these skills developed for what they wanted to do. And so, that's part of it. The other thing is we do a lot of internships. We try to get our kids out there working with businesses. Here are some ones. This is the company Nance, N-A-N-Z. He's a gentleman from North Canton who now has probably the leading contemporary doorknob company in the United States, if not the world. That's all solid brass, and they make them by hand in Long Island, New York. They're very interested in American manufacturing. So our kids went out there and they designed them on CAD software. They 3D printed proof of concept, and then they went to the factory and they handmade these doorknobs, which are really like pieces of art, beautiful stuff. But again, our kids are then coming back saying, "Oh man, the engineers, they don't have to wear a tie every day to work. I thought, adults wore ties to work every day. And, this is what an engineer does. And, this is how the collaborative process really looks in the workplace." And so all this great stuff our kids are developing and learning, but they're taking the skills that they learned here, basically CAD, computer aided design, 3D printing, and they're seeing how it's actually applied at the workforce level. So another good example here. We also had adult education. And so in the evening, we had a program where we taught adults, and tells you about the demand for this. I posted it in Hudson for Hudson residents. We had over 100 people sign up for this in less than 12 hours. And so I had to give 16 spots away. But what I found out when we brought these people in is that most of them were budding entrepreneurs, and they were interested in building the skill sets they needed for the business idea or the visions that they had. And so it was really a good way to leverage our facility with the community. And another thing was great. I don't have any pictures of it, but we had another local school here, and they didn't have a makerspace, but they would bring their kids here at 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock every day on Fridays for 2 months. And we did specific entrepreneurship training with them of how to use machines here, 3D printers and lasers and different graphic printing devices for them. And so we worked to create products for their bookstore that they could sell at school. But it was a really interesting opportunity for our kids and myself, where after school we were teaching other students, and it was really great to see our kids teaching other kids these skills that they had learned. So again, other ways in which we think that we can tap into other markets and with entrepreneurship, adults, other schools, and this idea of collaborative process, but yet still leveraging entrepreneurship. We also do a lot of certifications here. So we try to get our kids, be more marketable, maybe not so much entrepreneurship, but we see it for opportunities. So our kids will take classes and then they'll sit for either Autodesk or robotics or 3D printing, which is additive manufacturing certification, or Adobe certification, because we think employers know what these certifications mean. And sometimes they may not understand maybe what a high school diploma is all about, but they do understand the different levels of certification and what that means and how it's applicable to their workforce. So what have we done? And here's some examples. We've really partnered with as many people as we can in our community. We think it makes a better community when we're tied in. And so here's an example of something that we helped our students. We helped create these, we CNC, so computer control cutting router here. And you can see on the right-hand side there, the LED lights that were hanging over this church production. All that stuff was manufactured by our students, helped designed by our students, and assembled in that way. So really exciting stuff. Our kids and they get to see the final product. They see the proud accomplished, and then we're also making money as well. So on all these jobs, we're getting money. I would say 95% we're making money on them, and that goes into our operating budget. My goal to operate this center is to be cost neutral. We were very close a couple of years by all the jobs and stuff that we were running out of our center. But again, you can see community partnerships. And yes, we do also compensate some of the students in the projects as well. Community involvement, here we go. We were just asked to build these 50 snowmen. So the kids designed snowmen. These will sit outside all the businesses in downtown Hudson. Again, kids go downtown, they see that, they're proud of their work. They're engaged. It's, again, another community school partnership that seems to be done very well. And here's a kid who was starting on the one that our school was going to sit outside of our community in our center. The police approached us, and they didn't want to spend the funds to have their own tasers. So these are life-size humans that they would hold up in that little clear hole there. You can see through it. So the person holds it, and they practice shooting tasers at these models. Our kids designed this, prototyped it, tested it out, worked with the police department, and here we are delivering it. Our security officers in the Hudson Police Department and myself handing over these two models that we've created with the police. But again, more community tie-in, more real life, more feedback for our kids. So really good stuff. And our kids had this sense of accomplishment and pride. And again, I think that, at that time, our kids and the police, was great for that dialogue, and just kind of seeing the police as who they were, and working with them. It was a great project. Here's a chapel restoration. We had a cost of $200,000. We restored our chapel. We're old school, started in 1826. These were originally torn out for an organ. They decided to go back. They asked us to recreate these with two drawings they had from 1950 and 1930. So we took the picture, made the measurements, made it exactly like it was back in 1950. They got a quote for $200,000 to do that by a contractor. We did it in our center with our kids for $10,000, less than $10,000. I think it was like $8,900 all in. So again, real world. And now when our kids sit in our chapel, which is, historic chapel, they can see the work and accomplishments they've done. So another project that we did here, the kids are doing a great job taking the lead, and you can see them when they put it up there. And those are huge panels. They don't look like it, but you can see that step ladders, the 20-foot ladder, and so it's getting fully extended there. And then student businesses. So here's two kids, and you can see, they're excited, but they created their own logo for coats and hats, and they were selling those. And they can use the machines in our facility. We have a commercial embroidery machine, so kids can embroider hats and jackets and whatnot. And so we have a bunch of wholesale accounts, and so they can embellish all this stuff. But students running businesses, they're making money. We have kids running golf ball businesses that are online, and you name it. So a lot of kids are very interested in entrepreneurship. And when you show them the tools to be able to do that, the lights go on, and they're very excited about what they can accomplish. So part of that student business. Here's another one. We had a big lacrosse tournament on our campus. You can see the t-shirt hanging up there. The kids designed that shirt. It was a kind of collaborative process. They created all the shirts. They had online where they sent links out to all the visiting teams. They had pre-orders. This was a table to pick up the pre-orders. They earned a sizable profit. They split it among the students after they paid off all their costs. But again, more practice, more real world applications, more kids very excited. They're motivated only by the project, but they're also motivated by the fact that they could actually make money in this project. Bookstore, we make probably 80% of the merchandise in our bookstore. Here's some sweatpants that we silk screen, but you can see, we source and do a lot of the materials so we can keep our profits higher. Because we can get those numbers down in terms of what we're making for the bookstore. But our kids do that, and it also helps because our kids are giving input into what kind of designs and styles they like in the bookstore. And so most of that stuff's being made down here as well. Sublimation, and some of you are asking about like what kind of processes or stuff do you use, and many of you might have sublimation machines. We sublimate many items for outside vendors. Here's some mugs going to another school that we were asked to make. Students, they find this easy. These are, the very popular mugs. I have one right in front of me that students that we made in class. Here's some more sublimated stuff. Here's a kid who did his own basketball compression pants. Here's some silk screening of some shirts that we did for a client as well. But this kid here is excited about, his pants. You can see here, he sublimated that right on the bottom of his pants. We did all kinds of stuff for the parents. They wanted all these lacrosse lanyards. So we made lanyards. We made their tags that hung off their neck, but had their kid's name on it and their schedule on the back. But again, all this was done by our students here for profit. Here's our beer garden. So there's a German festival in Hudson. We made all of their beer steins for them. And we sublimated all these. And so these are all on the table getting ready to be packaged up and sent out. And they had another one where they have this exchange. They gave mugs away too. So a lot of stuff's happening here. Different prototypes, pricing. Here's the Shake Shack, wanted some custom masks during COVID for Pride Week. So they approached us. And so we did this for Shake Shack, the ones in the Northeast Ohio area, Cleveland, and Pinecrest. So we did all their masks for them. And then you can see our kids did all the end flags for our athletic facilities with the WRA checkerboard. They sublimated all that. So we have all these flags hanging up that the kids manufactured and designed. Another good project is an artist. We did NFTs. So this guy who's an alum came back to talk to the kids. He designed a men's wallet that was skinny. It's called the Slimmy. He's a guy out of Cleveland, and he's worked with artists in LA and Cleveland to put artwork on there. And you can see some of the artwork there. These are 4 of the different wallets, and he sells them on his website. He's been featured in Cleveland Monthly and so forth. But he comes back, and then the students get to work with him, and he's great. He really gets deep into shipping costs and how he cut costs and what his biggest costs are. But the kids are working alongside entrepreneurs that come back to use our facilities, and it's a really interesting partnership when they start asking questions. And he leaves here and he says, I get charged up because I start thinking differently, because I'm talking to kids that are 14 to 18 years old, and I'm starting to understand how they think and what markets they want. So it's a really dynamic partnership that we see. But you can see here, and this is done on a UV printer. We have a UV flatbed printer. And so we print a lot of like yard signs for graduation and stuff like that on it. But this is, we're printing on leather here. We also use that UV printer. You can see here some custom golf balls. Those are for our WRA golf outing, but the other one was done for the Hudson Country Club. And so we actually do a substantial business of custom golf balls. And we have a couple students who are running their own business. They're taking online orders, and they're printing golf balls and shipping them out. I forget how many thousands of golf balls they did last year. It was quite a few. But again, more opportunities for kids to be involved entrepreneurially. Once you show them how to do it, they take off. I mean, we show them just the process, and then they apply everything. Vinyl cutter. I know many of you probably have Crickets and so forth. We have a Roland 24 vinyl cutter. But again, here's a street sign. They wanted this for a fundraiser where they're naming rights for a business opportunity here in school. So we are making a bunch of street signs using the vinyl cutters and applications and so forth. We use that for decals, and we get a lot of use out of that. Hudson is famous really for rotational molding. We had an opportunity. We have a rotational molder here that's 3 feet by 3 feet, but Step 2 and Little Tykes, which are national global companies, they're out of Hudson, Simplay 3. But we actually worked with the city, and we rotationally molded hollow birds that an artist had created. And where we really thrive is when, the projects are smaller. But you could do this without that machine. You could make a mold and spin it 360 degrees by your hand, but we had to make 200 of these for the city of Hudson for art display. But again, the kids did a great job. They learned a ton about, they didn't always work out, and what are your margins in terms of how much more material do you need to order than you think you need, and so forth. So a lot of tons of learning going on here. What are we going to price this at? And this is more working with the city. So, what does the pricing model look like? What's our time? How much time we're going to spend making these, and so forth. So a lot of different applications there when we start working on that. We have a wide format printer. Here's a kid who's a former student, but he was making labels for his custom brewing he was doing. He was a student up at Case Western, but he was making Case State beer. And so he came back. He graduated from here, came back, knew he had the machines, wanted to use it for stuff that he was making. But this machine goes every day for stickers, wraps, banners, posters, you name it. It's one of the cornerstones of what we use. We did stickers for Yippee. And so it was a great process. Our kids got involved with that. They made them, they cut them, they packaged them up for them. But, always looking for opportunities to have our kids involved in the process. During COVID, we couldn't get out and about, which was a problem because we were used to having our kids interact with the community and outside vendors. So we decided to create our own driving simulator and arcade. And then our kids did all the graphics and decals for it. And so while we couldn't go out, we had a competition internally and did really well. The kids really enjoyed competing to design all this stuff, manufacture it, and do all the graphics for it. This sits out in our lobby where the kids can play games and driving simulator in between classes. Laser cutter, here's a kid, we've been selling these downtown for years, but, very simple designs, but these are some of the designs from, I showed you the earlier picture of the people that pitched it, but, they're making stuff with laser cutter, engraving cutting boards. It's a pretty easy process, but they were selling them downtown, and some kids do them for gifts for Christmas and so forth like that, the holidays. But here's a kid here, and they pitch these. And when we pitch them, we always have product spec sheets. What are the dimensions? What are the materials? What's your price? And then we have the kids submit to me another spec sheet that has what their cost is, what the profit is, and everything else. So they do 2 different spec sheets, which seems to be very good when I start thinking about, and time and how much it's going to cost and what they think they can generate in revenue and sales. We also work with other businesses. We've had weird requests and that are more unique, that maybe aren't what people think every day, but we had somebody pitch, how can we make a employee recognition wall? And so this was one of our collaborations with that company here outside of Hudson. And this was every year that somebody worked there, they got a different size block for the number of years we're there. And this was laser cutter and woodworking. So we did all the sanding, staining, and there's actually a industrial magnet on the back. We did not do the surround. It was just too big for what we could do. But we worked hand in hand with people who did it. And it was a great collaboration of what you might see out in the workplace where you're working with contractors together to create a final installation. And it's a great project. And then every quarter they come back to us and we have to re-laser engrave the people who now have gone up to 5 or 10 or 15 or 25 years and so forth. We just shipped these out today. I think they told me they're going to be on maybe local news here, but they do a ceremony for people who passed in the last year at this church. And so we did in our rotary for our laser, we laser etched all of their glasses and the designs for them. So we did, I don't know, over 100 of these in the last 2 days to make our deadline of being shipped out by Friday. But the kids participated in some of this process as well. Another unique thing was we were challenged to make a chocolate in chocolate molds because there's a contest for the city. So our kids then CAD designed it, and then we milled it out. You can see on the left, so a milling machine, and we milled it out, and then we poured molds, and we made our own chocolate mold of WRA, and then they made chocolates here at school, and they took them downtown for this annual chocolate festival thing they did in Hudson. But again, getting kids more into the process, getting feedback. There was competition to pick the best one. And then you learned about, what makes a good mold and stuff like that. But another good entrepreneurial way, because we produced chocolate and they sold it, I think, downtown during this chocolate festival. You can see different applications using the makerspace. 3D printing, we do a lot of prototyping with 3D printing. We don't do as much maybe for sale or entrepreneurial, but we did have a customer who wanted us to hang up all of their Apple chargers underneath their computers. They were falling down. So we task our kids with designing, got out the calipers and all the measurements. And so you can see 3 of these, the winning design's probably not even that picture, but all different approaches to how we're going to hang these computer chargers underneath our customers, our desks. And so, our kids, we had, 30 submissions. Each one was different. The customer took them back, used each one, and came back with the winner. Then we ended up printing out, 40 or 50 on our 3D printers of the ones that they wanted. But again, trying to get involved, trying to solve problems, be useful using 3D printing. During COVID, we made a lot of masks. So these are the masks we made in our SLA 3D printers. We made masks. So here's, we scanned their face, then we 3D printed out the mold, and then we cleaned it up, and then we cured it here in the curing process. But we were working with a ton of dentists during early COVID because they were worried about penetration and transmission of COVID through their masks. And then I don't have pictures, but we worked with a guy who did root canals, developing stuff for their, I guess when they do root canals, they almost do it like through a microscope. And so they didn't want to get any, so we did a surround for a microscope and tried to make it as tight as we could. So a lot of good challenges. Our kids weren't here. We did a lot of stuff online, and I would actually do the work here when we were doing online school and show the students. So anyways, that's a lot of what we've done. There's a lot more, actually, obviously. And one of the things that I would say is that if you're interested in getting into this, we started a bunch of wholesale accounts. And here's some of the ones that we use. We have a whole bunch, but these are some of the main ones we use for apparel. Sanmar's great. You order it today, it'll get here tomorrow. They're the leading manufacturer of wholesale apparel. You just have to say that you're going to embroider on it, or they call it embellish. But that's a great piece there. SNS activewear is another one that we use quite a bit, hats and jackets and you name it, stuff like that. Sublimation we order from Condi quite a bit. JDS Industries is really great. We do a lot of work with them for our pieces. Heat transfer stalls. I know a lot of you are local. They're up in Mentor. They've been very good to us. And the nice thing is when I call them and I say I'm a high school and this is what we're doing, they're very interested in that application. They don't deal as much with a lot of high schools. And so they're always willing to work with us. And I'll ask questions, fundamental questions, and they're very patient. So I found that a lot of these vendors to be very unique, and they realize, well, you're doing this at high school and you're trying to do this. And in laser cutting, we use JDS Industries a lot, JPP, Johnson Plastics Plus out of Columbus, I believe. But there's many, many more. These are just some of the ones that I know that when I was starting out, I had to source all these materials. And that's what took me a long time to try to find pricing and sourcing and to try to get all these accounts going. So, I know we're fortunate in what we have here and the machines and what we can do. But that's some of the ways that we pivot to be entrepreneurial in what we're doing. And I mean this for all of you that are on here. If you want any more information, if you're local or not even local and you want to come by and stop down for a day or a couple hours, please, by all means. We have all kinds of schools and colleges and different businesses have even stopped down to kind of see what we're doing and just ask questions. And we're 100% transparent down here and open with what we do. So I thank you for your time.
I have to say that Matt is sincere when he says that. I've sent a couple teachers down to see his space because it is incredible. But I do have one quick question for you, Matt. If there are educators out there who want to start a makerspace, what is the one machine that you would recommend they start with?
We probably get the most use out of our laser and 3D printer and wide format printer for us, but I would start there and then go out from there probably, if it was me.
Okay, great. Great, thank you. Are there any, here's a question here, Matt. Do you still have the big light bright outside of the space?
We do. We have a light bright that's an adult light bright that you spin each circle and it's tactile. It's great. It's a great conversation piece and the kids usually put stuff on it. But yeah, we have a big light bright out there. It's pretty cool.
Any other questions before we go on to our next speaker, who is also incredible in a different way? Matt is an educator, as you know, and he is in charge of teaching all the students, whereas our next presenter really is involved more in coming into helping the educators learn how to use their machines so that they can teach the students. It's a teach the teacher model. So before we go on, I just want to take a quick stop. I'm wondering, do you offer education, learn how to use classes during the school year or summer for educators?
We don't, but if you wanted to come and spend some time, I'd be happy to work with you. There's no doubt about that. So we can make it work.
And so that's definitely one great way to go. And like I said, I have sent many educators down to meet with Matt because he is so generous with his time and his knowledge. But our next speaker might be of more interest to you, Leah. So with that, perfect segue. I'm going to turn it over to Bill and Invent to Make.
Hi, Robin. Thanks for the opportunity. And let me go ahead and share my screen so hopefully you can see the presentation. And while I'm doing that, that was a great presentation, Matt. That's really exciting, the things that you're doing with your makerspace. And it just goes to show how you can take that initial investment from those makerspace resources and then turn that into revenue and then have it pay for itself and really explore entrepreneurship that way. So give me 1 second here.
Of course, it worked, in practice, it worked no problem. And then you come on.
Yeah. Now my presentation somehow got to the end here of my screen sharing. So, okay, here we go. All right, can everybody see my screen here? I'm going to go to presentation mode.
Yep. We're
right,
good.
great.
We can see it.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about Invent to Make. We're an organization that partners with schools to help them embrace makerspace technology in the classroom to support educational programming and entrepreneurship. What we are is Invent to Make. I'll tell you a little bit about Invent to Make first, and then the services that we offer. Invent to Make is an integrated STEAM and entrepreneurship educational program. It focuses on project-based learning and to use makerspace technologies. Students solve authentic problems using design software and digital fabrication equipment. So 3D printers, laser cutters, vinyl printer and cutters, CNC mills and routers, and more types of equipment to explore careers and learn what we call career adaptability skills, such as creativity and design thinking and problem solving and teamwork and collaboration and communication, things that they'll need regardless of what career they eventually go on to. The program includes professional development and training. We have project kits that are project-based that we manufacture ourselves using our makerspace, and then also procuring certain components. And then we lend those out to schools that we work with through our lending library. And they send them back to us, and we update those and then send them back out to the next school. We have standards aligned curriculum. We have a cloud-enabled makerspace, which you can access virtually or in person, and we use that to augment the resources of our partner schools with 3D printing support and technical support. And we typically offer this through an annual subscription, but we're making portions of the program available via the YEI store. So we'll talk a little bit about what we have so far in the YEI store. So a little bit of background, we began the Invent to Make program back in 2012 through contracts with DARPA through their mentor program, which is a manufacturing, experimentation, and outreach, which was designed to inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers. The program's offered through our company called Vista AST. We're a small business education technology company located in Youngstown. And we have some other pieces of our business, like we've made our own 3D printers. One thing we found back in 2012 when we started was that there wasn't very good reliability with the 3D printers that were available on the market. And as part of the contract, we had to implement 3D printing in our partner schools. And when printers would go down, we had issues maintaining them and keeping them up and running and not having those sort of delays. So we come up with our own 3D printer model, which you see here. Also, we do design and installation of maker spaces. We've done quite a few unique ones. I have a picture of one here, which was a trailer we recently delivered to Palo Verde College in Blythe, California. And an image here is another larger facility we did in Moreno Valley, California at the Moreno Valley Community College. And then we also, similar to what Matt does, we use our makerspace to support local entrepreneurs as well. This is an example of a dental face shield that we made during the pandemic. And if you can see, it has a cutout here for the loops light that goes through and it adjusts to your face. And we sold hundreds of these during the pandemic. And we made them with our 3D printers and our laser cutter to laser cut these shields. And we also provide training to local businesses as well who are interested in learning more about these technologies. So the way we partner with schools is that we do an initial assessment to help create a customized program. We see what resources and what capabilities your school currently has. And then we try to align our educational content, professional development, and the projects that we offer with your school's goals to address any gaps and empower educators to try to raise the technology to the classroom, so that way the educators are prepared to utilize these technologies and to teach the students. One thing we found is that a lot of times, schools, they may have procured this equipment several years ago, and the teacher who bought it may not be there, so it may just be collecting dust. Some of the schools we talked to, they say the best thing they bought for their 3D printer was a dust cover because they just don't know how to use it. So we work with them then to train them up to use that technology, and then to actually implement projects within the classroom. So entrepreneurial projects. We have some projects that we've developed with NASA to create solutions to design challenges. And then we have standards aligned curriculum also. And then we support those projects and the teachers with our makerspace and our resources here by doing design file reviews, or by actually fabricating the parts and shipping them back to our partner schools. Because we find, especially in larger implementations, if you have hundreds of students, you have hundreds of files you want to print, and each one takes 4 hours, and it's not really feasible with the resources that schools have access to on their site. Whereas at our makerspace, we have over 50 3D printers. We can keep running around the clock if we need to meet the demands of the particular school. And then, yeah, as you continue to implement these entrepreneurial projects, we work with the schools to introduce new technologies to help offer new and exciting experiences with their students to keep it fresh. So currently on YEI, we have 3 professional development offerings. The first is an initial consultation, an initial assessment that I talked about, where we just sit down and try to figure out where you're at in your use of makerspace equipment and your goals and objectives for utilizing that technology to support your entrepreneurial programming, and then recommend a plan for training or projects that could help take you to where you'd like to be. And then we have two different training sessions. The first is 3D printer training. Now, it could be on the printer that you may have available at your school, or it could be one that you have immediate access to. And if you don't have access to a 3D printer, we can train virtually using one of our 3D printers. So you just understand the basics of how it works and the different software that you would need, particularly the slicing software and the different options you have within that, and how you take a design and then actually translate it to the 3D printer to create what you need to create. And then also a 3D design training class, which is really essential. We find that there's a big step between just being able to download a file from the internet and then print it out, versus students being able to create their own solutions, their own inventions, and really be innovative. And fortunately, it's not like it was several years ago where you have to invest in an expensive CAD program. There are 2 free browser-based CAD programs that we typically recommend. One is Tinkercad, which is a pretty basic program where it just lets you pull in shapes and it's easy to use. And we find it works best as just an introduction or with younger students. We also work with Onshape, which is more like a traditional CAD software, which is more fully functional, but a little bit more advanced in the way you go about creating designs. So
I'm just gonna stop you real quickly in case there are some people out there who maybe aren't familiar with some of the terms that you're using. I have to say, when I met with Invent to Make, I walked away. The thing I walked away with that I think is the most important is that Invent to Make will meet you where you are, regardless of where that is, from knowing your machines or not knowing your machines, all the way to helping you make your prototypes.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the whole idea with the initial consultation. Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, sure. I just want to be mindful of our time, so I just want to
definitely
make sure people know what really know what you guys do. And really, I think it's such an amazing benefit that you can consult with literally anyone, because that particular product is a 0-point product. So regardless of where you are in the United States, you are willing to talk with them and give them some consultation and some guidance as to what to do, and how to initially start, or the next step, what the next step is in the process of the makerspace.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in the interest of time, I'll try to go quickly through these last few slides
we
here.
actually I do want to make sure that we have enough time to have our last speaker too. So if you could kind of just give the high level of these last few slides, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. This is just an overview of our makerspace and the process. How schools will basically send the file, we'll review it, work with the teacher to get the files to where they need to be to actually manufacture it and then produce it and send them back to the school. We do offer entrepreneurial projects. There are a couple of examples you see here. This is made through the Biz 3D project. It's a cake stand. We have a t-shirt factory project where students will learn how to use a vinyl cutter and heat press and create their own t-shirts. We also have some other STEM projects you can read about later. And just to finish up, we'd love to hear from you and learn more about your needs and where you are in the makerspace spectrum. We'd recommend that initial free introductory consultation available through the YEI. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at my email address is listed here.
Excellent. And I didn't mean to, do too much. There's so, I feel like we could do a power hour on each one of each of our presenters' bullets. There's so much information. And I want to thank you, but I do think just real quickly, the takeaway here is that Invent to Make will meet you and help you. They're a teach the teacher model. So they're going to teach you how to use your makerspace to the best of your ability, and they can meet you along the pathway. Is that a good summary, Bill?
Yep, that's right, Robin.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. And I will talk about the YEI products at the very, very end, but in an effort to make sure that all new information is going to be able to be heard by most of the people, I'm a stickler for that 5 o'clock time frame. I wanted to introduce Jennifer Jones. And so Jennifer, I'm going to turn it right over to you for the information on your Think, Make, Create trailer.
Perfect. Great. Yes, I am. Are you able to see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, I work with Beyond School Bells, which is Nebraska's statewide after school network. And we, it's been quite a few years now, but we created the Think, Make, Create labs. And I can just, kind of quickly just give you the high level overview. It is a mobile makerspace lab. It's a 6x12 trailer that was really designed as a storage unit, as so many programs were did not have much access to storing things beyond a shelf here and there. And so we wanted to be able to have a full makerspace area and allow for storage, and also wanted to give a platform for awareness of the program in the community, just as they see the trailer around, and an opportunity to develop local partnerships that they had not yet created. And so it really is designed to be transported for those communities that have a couple different sites between sites, and it's also used in different community events, that type of thing. But we initially designed it because Nebraska has so many rural programs that was the design. It's definitely used in urban areas as well, but that was our initial thought behind it. The key element, you guys both presented such incredible makerspaces. We are very low tech. That was kind of our focus, was to be really low tech and low cost supplies, and that we would be an entry point for the higher tech makerspaces down the road, and entrepreneurship opportunities that youth may be a part of later on. And that really this would be an opportunity to foster like tinkering and creativity, and really provide opportunities for problem solving and just that entrepreneurial skill building. And so the trailer is outfitted with just bins that are all labeled according to whether they're electronics or arts. And they're all color coded because we do have activity guides that we created to kind of go with this makerspace. And so you can read for yourself kind of what's inside the trailers, but as you can see, it's all pretty low tech, inexpensive items. And each trailer is outfitted with a wagon. And so the idea is that a program director can go in and grab the supplies she needs, put them in a wagon or he needs, and take them inside. If it's in the winter, we have pop-up canopies and tables where a lot of work can happen right outside the trailer as well. And we do have an activity guide, and this is something that is free and you can access on our website, but it really is just a variety of low-tech makerspace activities that a lot of them are entrepreneurial in nature. And so we've had kids where they create like these paper circuits, like they make paper circuit cards and then sell them at a marketplace, or they make these machines that create scribbles when you turn the battery on. And so all of these activities then are correlated with supplies that we have within the trailer, but we outlined 50 different activities that are just very straightforward and allow for any club leader to organize it and allow the kids to create, that they didn't have to have any type of electronic background or anything like that, but would really be able to easily just guide some of these activities, and that these activities would then be platforms and kind of launching places for kids coming up with just making completely on their own. But we wanted to give every program kind of a starting place of how to take on the makerspace and the activities to do. So I just walked through that insanely quick, but I wanted to be like a speed demon. But our website, you know, we are Nebraska based. We have trailers in different communities across the country, but we do have the activity guide is online for free. And a lot of those, you know, they are just different activities from Instructables, those type of things, but they really follow the mindset of making an entrepreneurism at that early foundation of early elementary, and kind of getting their sights set for bigger projects that they'll be involved in when they are later on in their after school years. And so my contact information is there as well, and you can definitely feel free to email me, and I can answer any other questions as well that you may have later.
So what I found really unique when I was learning about this for today's Power Hour is that they now sell this material, and the shelving and all sort of the insides of the trailer is actually printed, 3D printed, with partnerships from local high schools and local maker spaces. So it's a whole circle of getting use out of your maker space.
Yes.
And we will include the activity guide in the follow-up. And we do have one quick question and then a couple announcements. How many trailers do you have out on the roads right now?
I know I was supposed to look up at that fact. In Nebraska, we have right around 45.
Wow.
So they are all over the place. And then we have about 15 that are outside of the state right now.
Which is just incredible. And I think it's such a wonderful way for the younger grades to really start experiencing maker spaces and start thinking and creating and creative problem solving and cooperating and communicating and all the wonderful entrepreneurial skills that go along with maker spaces. So it's really sort of the precursor to what Matt and Bill are doing in the older grades. And I do love that. The other thing that I wanted to mention real quickly are two other programs. One is with Invention Land. If you've heard of Invention Land, they have a professional development that is they can do it online or you can do it in person. It starts at about $750. I know usually we try to keep most of what we present in these Power Hours as free to the educator. But I did want to mention this because I do think it is a really good professional development, and they do have grants available for that. So I did want to mention that. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention was that here in Northeast Ohio, we have a school called Hawken, and Hawken has a Fab Play Institute, and they have, in fact, I'm going to take this and drop it into the chat. They have curated some resources that I think you will find interesting, things like books and groups and other resources that I think you will find interesting. And I'm putting it in the chat right now, but we'll also have that as one of the links for the follow-up. And I wanted to quickly turn it over to Eileen Frankel, who has some really great upcoming announcements too.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thanks to our great presenters today, filled with so much great information and so many ideas that I'm already having about opportunities that perhaps we haven't taken full advantage of to get our kids started running businesses. Thanks to Robin for putting this all together. But my big announcements are related to Young Entrepreneur Pitch Challenge. As many of you may know, we have Pitch Challenge curriculum that's available through our Pitch Challenge toolkit. And once a year, we run a 3-month or so long contest in Northeast Ohio, where students can compete within their grade level in the region for the Pitch Challenge. So I'm going to ask Evan to pull up the pitch launch page. Many of you who are in our email database might have gotten an email this afternoon letting you know that the Pitch Challenge is open. Okay, well, it's coming. And for teachers, you can register your class for the Pitch Challenge. Once you register, we'll send you all the information that you need in order to teach, organize, and get your kids ready for the Pitch Challenge. No, is this not? Here we go. Guys, see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this one button, Educators, register your class. This is the one button that you need to know this year. You register your class, you make a plan for how many students you'll teach and how many you think will create videos to enter the competition. And we're going to send you all the information that you need back directly to you. We have a couple of new elements this year. Students can enter as teams. We had gotten some feedback in the past that students work on projects as teams in their entrepreneurial classes, and now we're going to let you enter this Pitch Challenge as a team. We're also going to have lots and lots of finalists this year. We're going to evaluate pitches by classes and groups, and we're going to make sure that we have lots and lots of winners. So any questions on the Pitch Challenge, you can click that other button at the top. Evan is, those questions will go directly to Evan Ewell. But new to our Pitch Challenge team, can stop sharing now, Evan, because I want to introduce Selena. We have a new team member here at YEI, Dr. Selena Roebuck, who is here, visible in name on one screen and visible with her face in another. She's new to the team. She's going to be leading all our Pitch Challenge program coordination. Maybe give her a minute or two before you load her down with questions, but you'll be seeing her name soon and hearing from her as she gets set to organize this program with us.
Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. It's really nice to be involved in the Pitch Challenge, but also in today's workshop, thanks to the speakers and Robin for keeping us on track. And now we've broken your timekeeping mechanism, so we'll make it short. I hope to see you all in the pitch contest, and I'd love to hear your feedback about how to make it even better and more suitable to your classes. This is a great opportunity, and we'd love to see everybody. We want to go from roughly 1,000 to more, right? So easy to do, and we're all here to help you make it smooth and easy for your students to submit their pitches. Thanks so much. Great meeting, everybody.
And I have to say, as you heard from Matt, who started us off, all of those students had to pitch their ideas. So it is a very much needed, useful skill. And we have a lot of different support for you going throughout this pitch challenge, but it is definitely something that every single person needs to know how to do regardless of their profession. So I highly encourage you to participate. Okay, Last thing, I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that you earned 250 points, YIPI points for attending today's not the conference, the workshop, our power hour. And you can have an opportunity to earn even more if you complete the survey that we are going to drop into the chat box and send out to you. Before I get into the specifics of YIPI, I just wanted to once again thank our speakers for their excellent job, and to all of you for joining us today. Our next power hour is going to be in January. So if I don't see you before then, have a fantastic winter break. And I will see you the third week in January for our power hour. Excuse me, I'm going to just double check, make sure I don't say the date wrong. For our power hour, I don't have the date. I'm sorry. I think it's January 19th. It's a third Thursday. But it is going to be on how to utilize guests in your classroom and how to find them. And we read all of the surveys that you're going to fill out very carefully. So if you have topics that you want to learn more about, please drop them in there, and we will make sure that we get to those topics. Any questions on anything before I officially close the power hour and talk about YIPI and the products that you can get from Invent to Make for this? Any questions or anything? I don't think I see anyone's hands. Okay, so I'm going to go to do a quick little bit on YIPI itself. YIPI, remember the pin that the students at Western Reserve made for us. YIPI is an online marketplace where educators earn points that they use to purchase entrepreneurship education resources that are funded by our sponsors. So it's a big circle. It's like getting a grant without actually writing a grant, or having to submit and wait months to see if you in fact got funded for that particular product or not. You know, as an educator, when you go on to YIPI, and you get there by going to www.yipi.exchange, that you are, as long as you have the points and as long as YIPI does the magic in the background, that you can get those products. Now, what do I mean by that? All of the products on YIPI have at least one entrepreneurial element to them. But the way it works is YIPI, you as an educator get to pick the item that is already approved. The provider offers the products and they have some limitations. For instance, some of them are, the product categories varies, and some of them are in-person field trips. Well, that product isn't necessarily going to be able to be offered to someone, say, in another state, right? If the product provider doesn't want to travel or that kind of thing, they have some say in it too. And then the funders, who are actually paying the providers for your grant, have say in what they fund too. So you put in your request as the educator, and YIPI does the magic in the background and will let you know if you have a match for that grant. And like I said, all of the grants or all of the resources have something to do with entrepreneurship. We do have Invent to Make as one of our product offerings. And currently there are 3 different product offerings on YIPI for Invent to Make. We are hoping to add a couple more very soon. Bill, I hope we can get together and get the rest of those on, because I think there is a lot of excitement and need, as you can see, for this type of service. So for coming today, you have 250 points. For registering on YIPI, you'll get 500 points. And for filling out the survey, you'll get even more points. You also can earn points by telling us how your experience was with the resources that you used. So the idea as educators, you get to tell other educators what you used it for, why you used it, did the product work for you, and the big the products that are used and are sought after will rise to the top, like in any kind of marketplace. So that's my quick little spiel. I'll be happy to stay on and demonstrate Yippee more or answer any questions. Any questions regarding that? And I'm pulling up the date for the next power hour. It is going to be, I want to make sure I don't give you the wrong date. January 19th at 4 o'clock is the current scheduled next time that we're going to have a power hour. And again, the topic or the theme for that one is going to be about using guests and how to find them. It should be a Thursday. Any questions? Does anyone want to unmute themselves and ask anything of YEI or any of our fantastic speakers today before we officially close out? Well, I have to say that I learned so much putting this together and think that it is a really fantastic opportunity for students to really gain firsthand knowledge about how business works. Everything from pitching and creating to changing products and communicating and making sure that the client is happy and all of that. And I'm still wearing my pin and we are still using our stickers. So I really appreciate all that you have done, Matt, to help us get to this point. Bill, I'm real excited about learning and seeing which educators take you up on teaching them how to use their makerspace. And of course, Jennifer, I love all of those tinkering projects for the younger grade and excited to share your free resource with our network today. So with that, unless there's anything else, I'm going to officially say thank you again. And I appreciate you all coming.